You deserve the best. With the SiriusXM Platinum VIP plan, you can unlock the ultimate listening experience in up to 2 cars and stream anywhere with 2 app logins. Enjoy our greatest content, opportunities for live VIP experiences, and prioritize customer care. Plus, get access to over 5,000 audio and video concert recordings through nugs.net. Call 844-711-8800 and become a VIP. Offer details apply. Not available in Canada.
Happy holidays from all of us at Happy holidays from all of us at Coast and our Panda Express family. It's the most wonderful time of the year, and we know you're busy snagging gifts for your loved ones. Why not add a dash of flavor to your shopping spree? Grab some Panda to go. It's not just a meal, it's a ritual that adds a touch of joy to your holiday adventures. So however you Panda, make it part of your holiday routine. Order yours today. Visit pandaexpress.com or download the app to find a location near you. Panda Express, bringing flavor to your festivities, because however you Panda, we got you covered.
Merry, bright, and packed with Christmas favorites. Holly, listen now for a limited time on Channel 79 and on the SiriusXM app, free with all trials and popular plans. Your business, your money, your life.
Marketing, expanding, and branding.
SiriusXM Business Radio.
SiriusXM Business Radio.
Your business, your money, your life.
Entrepreneurs, CEOs, and investors.
SiriusXM Business Radio.
To hear Business Radio, activate your radio now. Call 844-711-8800 or go to SiriusXM.com/go to sign up quickly.
Including Save the World.
Hey, it's Tommy Beatsmore. Each week, me and my co-host and former White House colleague Ben Rhodes break down the biggest stories from around the world as they unfold. Let's talk about Russia. Biden and Chinese President Xi Jinping are set to meet face-to-face. There are competing narratives in this conflict.
Pod Save the World is available now on the SiriusXM app, and SiriusXM Radio is free now through December 4th. Just press the button in your car to enjoy. Visit SiriusXM.com/listen free to see what's on. Best. With the SiriusXM Platinum VIP plan, you can unlock the ultimate listening experience in up to 2 cars and stream anywhere with 2 app logins. Enjoy our greatest content, opportunities for live VIP experiences, and prioritize customer care. Plus, get access to over 5,000 audio and video concert recordings through nugs.net. Call 844-711-8800 and become a VIP. Offer details apply. Not available in Canada.
Week, and you can hear all the games on SiriusXM. Hear matchups with playoff implications, like the Pac-12 championship with Washington facing Oregon.
What a strike by Bo Nix!
Get ready for game day on College Sports Radio Channel 84. It's free listening time at SiriusXM. That means your friends and family can get an early holiday present. We've turned on their SiriusXM radio for free now through December 4th. Visit SiriusXM.com/listen free.
Get the SiriusXM app and listen on your phone when you get out of the car.
If you've been thinking about buying a home, you need to be in the zone, the home buying zone. You need a game plan to win in this great real estate market. The Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage has all your bases covered. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, purchasing your dream home, refinancing, consolidating debt, or even considering a reverse mortgage, contact the Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage today. They have the lowest closing costs, and they'll close your loan on time, guaranteed, or they'll pay your first mortgage payment. And they even have a 3.5% purchase down payment grant that can get you into a home with little money out of your pocket. It doesn't get more clutch than that, folks. Score big on the biggest purchase of your life. Call Equity Zone Mortgage today at 1-800-772-8624. That's 1-800-772-8624. Or apply online at equityzonemortgage.com and tell them Big C sent you, as heard on the Big C Sports Podcast. License number 018-14868.
There you go now.
I think every...
Oh, that's it. There you go now.
I think every...
Oh, that's it.
Rondo Deportes, Bonjour, Vidi Vidi Vici. Let's get ready to rumble. Charlton of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, of the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to me, the people of the universe. And that would include you. What a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be my neighbor? Shut up! It's 3 o'clock in the morning. As I've said many times, I've been nominated to be the lead spokesperson for the Neighborhood Watch program, and I try to bring the whole neighborhood together. It's always at 3 o'clock in the morning, but you don't have to worry about what time it is. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 29 podcast applications all over the universe. Give that some praise on a beautiful December the 8th, 2023. Happy Friday, everyone. May you please have a happy Friday. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 29 podcast applications from Google, Alexa, Spotify, Speaker Podcast, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio Podcast, TuneIn Podcast, Good Pods Podcast, Amazon Podcast, Castbox Podcast, Deezer Podcast, Podcast Addict, Podchaser. You can also follow Big C Sports Podcast out in Geo Savan, out of London, England, as well as India and Africa. Podtail, YouTube, Hubhopper, Stitcher Podcast, Radio Line, WePod Podcast, Luminary Podcast, Listen Notes, Podcast Wise, Podbay, Verbal Podcast, Podcast Policy, Podcast Republic, and there's one that I used to be afraid of, but now I'm no longer. It's like a Tesla. It's run by robots. It's called AllFees.ai. Give that some praise. The robots are trying to take over. Be careful, don't let them take over. You always have the off switch. But I also want to tell you, you can follow Big C Sports Podcast streaming OTT on 4 TV podcast platforms all over the universe. You can find us on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. Give that some praise. You got to give it praise. I love what I do with Big C Sports Podcast. I love paying homage to the Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced, helping veterans and their loved ones get help. If you know anybody going through issues, pick up the phone, call 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do, you want to give us some praise, because we all need somebody to lean on. It's nice having somebody to lean on, especially when they're leaning back. I want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, where God said, reparations now, reparations forever. And then he said, let there be light. Some people get it twisted. Let light shine on your life. What I do is Big C Sports Podcast. Number 1, I always produce the show. Number 2, I direct the topics. Number 3, I broadcast all the shows. Number 4, I do all the sound effects based on the platform provided by the agency. We could all use bird laughter in our lives. I can use bird laughter. And then the commercials are done, the stats provided, the storytelling. I even do the play-by-play up to the line of scrimmage. 49ers 50-yard lines, 4 wideouts, 5-man front by the Seahawks. Brock Purdy with the snap, rolling to his right. He throws downfield. It is caught. Caught for the touchdown. Debo Samuel, 50 yards. You're going to hear the 49ers and Denver Hills taking on the Seattle Seahawks. Coming up on Sunday in Denver Hills, California, number 9. The show is uploaded to 29 podcast platforms out of New York City. And I'm in Denver Hills, California. And then number 10, I never missed a platform. I never missed a show since doing Big C Sports. Back with the days of Salem Media. Never missed a show with Big C Sports Podcast. You got to give that some praise. Now you have people who miss practice. I'm not talking about the game. I'm talking about practice. Now you have people that miss practice. If you got to miss practice, it's all for the war. But I never missed a show, and to me, that deserves a lot of acknowledgement. I want to tell you what I do with Big C Sports. You know by now, we have Friday Night Lights, where a lot of the high schools around the country, they're in what's called the state playoff, and California has a lot of playoff games coming up. The ones that I'm interested in is the open division, is Mater Dei of Santa Ana, California, and they will take on Sarah High School of San Mateo, and we have Pittsburgh High. Actually, we have Grant High School of Sacramento, California. They're taking on La Serna from Southern California. And De La Salle High School will take on Mission Viejo in the big games. And Central Valley Christian out of Visalia will take on Los Gatos out of the Bay Area. Among other teams, Folsom taking on St. Bonaventure of Ventura, California. Folsom out of Northern California. Give them all some praise. I don't touch on all the high schools all over the country because there's so many playoffs going on, and I just want to give credit in my backyard in Dimdale Hills, California. So that's my story that I'm sticking with it. I want to also tell you, if you don't know by now, there's a song called If You Don't Know Me By Now, You Will Never Ever Know Me. Ooh, okay, enough of your singing, Curry. Okay, I'm just trying to say, if you don't know by now, I love announcing reparations as we rise and shine. I think I'm the only sports show in the universe that talks about reparations the way it should be talked about, because I love honoring President Abraham Lincoln. As many people know by now, if you follow the Big C Sports Podcast, there is a reparations task force, and they are so committed to making sure that reparations are a go in Dimdale Hills, California, known as the Golden State. And they had 16 meetings. The last one was June 29th, 2023 at the Secretary of State building in Sacramento, California. And ironically, they've had 16 meetings. And the 16th president of the United States was President Abraham Lincoln, who actually was the first one to sign the Emancipation Proclamation and offer reparations. And that's important. And we all know when Lincoln was assassinated, President Lincoln was assassinated, President Andrew Johnson came along and he vetoed the bill. And then he gave the land back to the insurrectionists. He gave the land back to the Southern Confederates when the Union won the war. And it was black soldiers that Lincoln petitioned to join the Union Army to help defeat the Southern Confederates. And they won. And unfortunately, when Lincoln was assassinated, President Andrew Johnson came in, he vetoed that bill and gave that land back to the insurrectionists, the Southern Confederates. And that's horrible. And no president since then has decided to do what Lincoln started, which is to pay reparations for descendants of chattel slavery that built this country for free. They had no life insurance, no health insurance, no pension plan, no 401k. They had nothing. They worked from cradle to grave. Their children were oftentimes sold from plantation owner to plantation owner. And I think oftentimes when you look at descendants of chattel slavery, people say, well, slavery existed all over the world, Curry. But at the same time, in this country, it was the more peculiar, draconian institution. Most places that had slaves, they were called manumitted slaves. You could earn your freedom. In the United States, you cannot. And then after slavery ended in 1865, really it was 1863, but Texas didn't announce it until 1865. Then there was 100 years of Jim Crow, which is separate and unequal. So it built up this climate where white Americans, they could buy a slave, the mother, the father, the daughters, the sons, and they could sell them to other white plantation owners. And oftentimes, you had no will, you had no recourse. They did it with impunity. What's this about impunity, Curry? They did it without any fear of breaking the law. And unfortunately, even in today's climate, there's times when people think, and you'll see it when the politicians come around asking for the vote, they think they can come into the black community and drop a little money in the black community as if you're supposed to run and suck on it like a bee sucks on honey. And that's not the case. But that's a mantra that I've seen happen over and over and over again, where people try to pull out a wad of money as if you don't have your money of your own, and then that's supposed to make you suck on the honey that they're offering. Well, not all honey is sweet, if that makes sense to you. But you'll see when the politicians come around, trust me, they will come. What did Johnny Cash say? They'll be coming around the mountain when they come. They'll be coming around the mountain when they come. They'll be coming around that mountain asking you for your vote. But as the rule has it now, no reparations, no vote. Give that some praise. I want to praise the California Reparations Task Force. You won't hear about them except for on Big C Sports. But they were mandated by California Governor Gavin Newsom to come up with a plan for reparations. And you're only going to hear about it on Big C Sports. I want to give California Governor Gavin Newsom some praise. Nobody else is talking about it the way Big C Sports does. I want to give praise to the task force, the chair, Camila Moore, an attorney that specializes in reparative justice. I want to give her praise. She's brilliant. I want to give praise to Dr. Amos C. Brown, the vice chair. He's brilliant. I want to give praise to the #1 senator in the United States of America, California Senator Stephen Bradford. He's brilliant. Had meetings with him. Going to be meeting with him shortly with the National Black Wall Street Project. He's also responsible for name, image, and likeness. When you watch college bowl games, you realize there's over 1,100 college students in the college football transfer portal, so they can get paid on their name, image, and likeness. That's because of California Senator Stephen Bradford. He's also on the Reparations Task Force. Would you believe that these college kids, they can command between $500,000 and $1 million for their name, image, and likeness? Give that some praise. That's because of California Senator Stephen Bradford. He's also pushing for reparations. Really do appreciate him. And that's why I love giving him praise. I also want to give praise to Council Member Monica Montgomery Steppe. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Assembly Member Reginald Jones Sawyer. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Shell Grills. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Attorney Lisa Holder. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Javon Scott Lewis. He's also a professor at California Berkeley. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. I also want to give praise to Attorney Donald K. Tamaki. He's part of the California Reparations Task Force. He's brilliant, and I love giving him praise. As a Japanese American, his family already received reparations from the internment camps. You only hear about that on Big C Sports, and that's praiseworthy. That's why I say I'm not like other shows. I want to thank This Is CNN, proud sponsor of the Big C Sports podcast. I love giving them praise. I want to give praise to This Is PNC Private Bank, proud sponsor of the Big C Sports podcast. I love giving them praise. I want to also give praise to the Associated Press, because Janie Hart, the Associated Press, she called me back on the day. It was right around the end of March. It was March 29, 2023. She printed the story, and it was called Ring Ring. I said, hello. She said, hi, is this Charlton Curry? I said, yes, this is Charlton. How can I help you? She said, this is Janie Hart of the Associated Press. I said, well, how'd you get my number? She said, we have our ways. I said, okay, well, how can I help you? She said, I heard you speak at a reparations task force, and I wanted to get your thoughts on reparations. I said, if you heard me speak, you know my thoughts. I believe in what President Abraham Lincoln said. He said reparations now. He said reparations forever. And I want to give that some praise. He wasn't shucking and jiving. You know, that article was also reprinted by CBS News. That article was also reprinted by NBC News. You can get that praise. That article was also reprinted by ABC News and Fox News. And to me, it shows the credibility of Big C Sports Podcast and what I'm doing. You can get that praise. I'm not shucking and jiving. What they said in the article with Big C Sports is so important to me. I want to share it with the audience. I'm going to talk about sports too, but too many of our people are sitting on $1 million or more and let this slip through their hands. Right now, there's talk between $1 million to $3 million will be paid out to the California descendants of child slavery. But you can Google it, NBC News, NBCnews.com, on March 30, 2023. They printed the story the next day. It says Charlton Curry of Sacramento, California, who discusses reparations on his Big C Sports podcast. It says that cash payments are necessary, that money talks. Give that some praise. Now, why do I say that? Because for credibility, you think they're going to do an article on anyone? They have to research Big C Sports Podcast on 29 podcast platforms all over the world. They have to realize I'm streaming on 4 TV platforms. That's called credibility. I'm one beautiful, intelligent black man. They didn't call the guys on ESPN to ask their thoughts. They didn't ask the guys on Fox Sports their thoughts on reparations. They didn't ask the guys on TNT their thoughts on reparations. They didn't call NBC Sports. They didn't call NFL Network. Why not? Because those guys are always shucking and jiving. Because the NFL, 75% black, you would think they would champion reparations. And I know they're doing it passively. At the end of the end zones, they always put end racism. On the back of the end zones, right under the goalpost, you'll see it on the white lines. At the other end zone, it says it takes all of us. So I commend the NFL for even doing that. But I would ask Roger Goodell, the commissioner of the NFL, and also Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, to do what Big C Sports is doing, and the National Black Wall Street Project, writing a letter to the White House and asking President Joe Biden, do you believe that President Abraham Lincoln was correct? Well, answer is shit. Well, let's see what his answer is. And asking other politicians, do you believe that President Abraham Lincoln was justified in passing reparations, the Emancipation Proclamation? I believe the answer would be yes. And so that's why with Big C Sports, you either lead, follow, or get out of the way. I'm just doing what I can based on my knowledge to get that message out there. And I love doing that on every show for Big C Sports Podcast. I'm not one to say, well, let's see what happens, and then we'll talk about it. I also want to say thank you to Double O. She's part of the National Payout Committee for the National Black Wall Street Project, and she sent me Executive Order 13985 on further advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities through the federal government. That's the White House, President Biden. And many people don't even know what that means. But learned people do. But you only hear it on Big C Sports. Why aren't you hearing that on other platforms? Because, for some reason, they're pigeonholed. But reparations are due to child slavery. Descendants of child slavery, just like our Holocaust brethren and heirs get reparations. You gotta Google Executive Order 13985 by President Biden. By the authority invested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America. It is hereby ordered. On my first day in office, I signed Executive Order 13985 on January 20, 2021, advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities through the federal government, which charged the federal government with advancing equity for all, including communities that have long been underserved, and addressing systemic racism in our nation's policies and programs. By advancing equity, the federal government can support and empower all Americans, including many communities in America that have been underserved, discriminated against, and adversely affected by persistent poverty and inequality. We can also deliver resources and benefits equitably to the people of the United States and rebuild trust in the government. That's President Biden. Give that some praise. That was sent to me by Double O, the PAC Committee of the National Black Wall Street Project. I also want to thank Senator Marco Rubio of Florida and also Rick Scott of Florida. They petitioned Congress to reintroduce a bill to restore Holocaust survivors' rights. We got to give that praise. Next, they need to do the same thing for the descendants of child slavery. I want to give Georgetown University some praise because they also, when you think about Georgetown, they're in the city of Washington, D.C., just like the White House. Yeah, same city. Would you believe September 15, 2023, Georgetown pledged over $1 billion to 272 descendants of enslaved men, women, and children. They were sold from Jesuit plantations to settle Georgetown's debts in 1838. You won't hear that on any of the sports show, and rarely will you hear it on any news outlet. But you can Google it. It was even on CNN News. The article was put together in Black Enterprise. That's important. I want to give Black Enterprise some praise. I'm wondering how they beat the White House to pledging over $1 billion to just 272 people. Now, for those of you who don't know, black bodies were sold to pay off the debts of Georgetown. And that's what I'm saying. Those colonialists, they were selling black people, men, women, and children. And even to this day, that practice is still in the air. There are many times when people pull out some money and they still think they can buy you. And for some people, they can. Where did that come from? Most business people I've been around billionaires and millionaires sitting down doing business. And I've never seen an owner of an NFL or NBA team that I've been privy to meet open up their wallet and say, let me show you that I'm worth $6 billion. They don't do that. But people still do that when they're sitting in front of black Americans thinking that you don't have your own money, so they're going to pull out a few $100s and show you that you should follow them and suck on them like honey and bees sucking on honey. And I want people to know that it comes from a history of being able to pull out your wallet and buy that slave. I want to buy that slave, and I want to buy that slave. Those days are over. Or are they? Because when the politicians come around, they're going to start promising you what they're going to do for you after you vote for them. But President Joe Biden, he knows he only got elected because the majority of black Americans voted for him. And he did sign Executive Order 13985. It's bigger than the game. And they're still in Congress right now deciding whether they pay reparations. There's over 170 members of the Congress and the Senate that have supported Representative Sheila Jackson Lee H.R. 40's bill for reparations. How come you only hear about that on Big C Sports? Oh, you know who your favorite quarterback is? You know about the point spread in the NFL? I'm going to get into Big C's NFL previews too. But I'm asking NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, who's made a fortune being the commissioner of the National Football League, with those beautiful brown bodies that have made him a fortune. And all the owners of NFL teams, none of them are black. Not one. Wait a minute, Curry, you don't know what you're talking about. What about Magic Johnson? Magic Johnson's not a majority owner of an NFL football team. He has a stake in the Washington Commanders. He's not a majority owner like Jerry Jones or like Bob Kraft. He's not. And those men have enough power to do the same thing that President Abraham Lincoln did. Support reparations for descendants of child slavery. If you trace the lineage of many of the 75% of black men that make up the NFL and many of the 80% of black men that make up the NBA, you'll find they come from chattel slavery. Yeah, the big guys might be rich. LeBron James may be nearly a billionaire. Steph Curry may be nearly a billionaire. There are a lot of other players that have several $100 million in the bank. A Kevin Durant, a Klay Thompson. There are men who have that. Giannis Antetokounmpo. There's a lot of guys that have James Harden. There are a lot of guys got a lot of money. But if they're not championing for reparations, then what are they championing for? And that's why I'm asking them to do the decent thing. When apartheid was happening in South Africa, you have major corporations that decided to divest from doing business with South Africa because of the way they were treating the black Africans. And we're asking the same thing in the United States. Give that some praise. Even if I'm the only sports show doing it, but I know I'm not the only one. That's why it's important. I want to say thank you to T-Mobile, proud sponsors of Big C Sports, America's largest 5G network. Give that some praise. It's so important to me. That's why I love doing that. And again, I want to educate some people right now because it's more important than who won a game. If your football team did not have the money to pay you, may lightning strike. You lose your mind if the money wasn't there, if the money bounced. If you Google Freedman's Bank, this is why reparations are so important. We've heard about the wealth gap through the Kerner Commission between black and white in the United States pejoratively. It's supposedly $1.4 trillion. Well, where'd that money come from? Money was set aside to pay reparations. And it was hijacked by the Southern Confederates and Andrew Johnson. President Biden, he knows about it. President Obama used some of that money, so did President Trump. The money to pay reparations is there. It's not about raising your taxes. We all know that money is fiat currency. But if you Google Freedman's Bank, and many people don't even know what it is, Freedmens Bank, chartered by the United States Congress, March 3rd of 1865, to provide a place for former slaves to safely store their money. After several successful years in which Freedman deposited more than $57 million in the bank, it collapsed in 1874 as a result of mismanagement and fraud. You know, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world, according to Einstein. But there were 50 trustees that were in charge of overseeing the banks. a board of 50 white trustees was named to manage the bank's affairs. In Freedman's Bank, the money was deposited to be invested in stocks, bonds, and treasury notes or other securities of the United States. Unlike a conventional bank, the Freedman's Bank for Black Americans was forbidden to make loans. Imagine how they robbed Black Americans. Even Congress set up a bank, and they did not give the money back. Only a few got the money back, and that's egregious. They got us hooked on touchdown, home run, 3-point play. Oh man, Willie, he's going all the way. But many of our white brethren to the Homestead Act of 1862 and 1863, where the United States government gave over 276 million acres of land to white people, and even white Europeans. When you have land, you become wealthy. You could go to the bank and get a loan against the land. But Freedman's Bank would not allow Black Americans to make a loan, to get a loan against the money that they deposited. That was another crime. So now Congress is sitting there as you're standing up for the kickoff. Waiting to see where Shohei Ohtani is going to sign for a few $100 million, or who's going to win an NBA game. As you're standing up for the kickoff, Congress is right now considering paying reparations because that money is owed, is due to Black Americans, descendants of chattel slavery. You got to get BC Sports some praise. I'm the only one that talks about that. Before I get into some sports, thank goodness, Corey. I want to tell you the country's looking to put people back to work. And so am I. Real estate industry has been hit pretty hard. Commercial real estate is having its issues, as well as residential real estate. I talked about Freedman's Bank. You know, they were not allowed to make loans to Black Americans, even though Congress set it up. They allowed white businessmen to invest based on the money that Black Americans deposited into the bank. That's a crime! Imagine not being able to get a loan from the bank that you deposit your money into. And banks right now have been tight on giving money to people. We have a business loan alternative company. We can approve in less than an hour and oftentimes fund within the same day. What are the items needed? 4 months bank statements, $5,000 minimum monthly revenue, 6 months in business. We specialize in unsecured working capital. Up to $5 million, no collateral, no early payoff discounts, and can fund in as little as 1 day. Unlike your traditional banks, they want your 2 years tax returns. They want your sometimes 2 years of bank statements. They want your profit and loss. They want to attach it to a property. Well, this is based on factoring, and many business owners, they need it. It's been a lifesaver for business owners who get told by the banks, no! How do you get that information? 800-772-8624, 800-772-8624, 800-772-8624, and tell them Big C sent you. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. I'm telling you, so many things are great in this country when you have access to the money. Like Freedman's Bank, they did not allow Black Americans to get loans. They allowed white Americans to invest the money. That's not right. And so just asking President Biden, sign an executive order. Rumor has it, no reparations, no vote, because you can do it by executive order. The same way you signed the crime bill, you and President Bill Clinton, that incarcerated mass number of black men and women too, destroying black families. And those same black families voted to help you get into office. You even said as you were out stomping, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. And rumor has it, if you don't sign reparations into law, you're not getting elected or re-elected. It'll be another Al Gore moment. What? I thought we had the black vote. I told him I was going to do something for him, but I didn't. I didn't know I had to. We need the same treatment that the descendants of Holocaust got, and that's reparations. And give that some praise. I want to give praise to my family legacy, because that's where I come from. When I'm talking reparations, it's not just for me. It's where I came from. On my beautiful mother's side, my great-grandmother called her Mama, beautiful, loving, kind woman, always making sure lots of love in the family and lots of food to belly. And my granddaddy called him Pop, former military man and former Negro League baseball player, known among his church buddies of making the best moonshine in the history of the universe. And I said, boys, get out of that barn. The real MacGyver could fix anything, planes, trains, and automobiles. And they didn't get their reparations. And they were born in Jim Crow. Isn't that something? And then my beautiful grandmother, Mud Did, beautiful, loving, kind woman, always making sure lots of love in the family and lots of food in the belly. What to do? Appreciate her. She was a seer. Could oftentimes look at a person and tell you a lot about their past, their present, and their future. She still helps me to this day. I love Mud Did with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My beautiful grandfather, Hezekiah, another wonderful person. A seer could oftentimes look at a person and tell you a lot about their past, present, and future. And then I could always depend on my mama, the most beautiful mama in the history of the universe. Started a Head Start program, a food program, and then also coached an all-boys Little League baseball team to the championship of the universe. Give mama some praise. Started a Head Start program, a food program, and then also coached an all-boys Little League baseball team to a championship. My mama was born in Jim Crow. Always stand, rise, and shine. Love my mama with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. The best person I ever met in my life. On my father's side, my granddaddy, Albert Curry, he was a pastor. He had 2 churches in Oakland, built the 3rd church in Central California. But he also owned 2 gas stations in Oakland, one on Bancroft, the other on Foothill. But he also owned 40 acres of land, like the Emancipation Proclamation. When Frederick Douglass was working with the President Abraham Lincoln to craft the Emancipation Proclamation, it promised free black Americans 40 acres and a mule. And it didn't happen. He was also, with my grandmother, born in Jim Crow. They still managed to become wealthy. Imagine that, against all odds. And then my beautiful grandmother working side by side with my granddaddy with the 3 churches and the 2 gas stations. I was 8 years old walking through a hallway in Oakland. And I felt someone touch me in my forehead about 10 o'clock at night. And she said, "What are you doing, young man, going to get some more cookies?" I said, "What are you doing up, Grandma? It's 10 o'clock at night. You normally go to bed at 8:30. And she said, "What are you doing, young man, going to get some more cookies?" I said, "Cookies are baby crap to what I'm doing, Grandma. I'm going to get my reparations." And I said a couple of cookies wouldn't hurt either. And she said, "There's something about your voice. I love hearing you speak." And now I'm on 29 podcast platforms and streaming on 4 TV platforms. You got to give that some praise. She sold life into me. Like I'm showing life into reparations. She was also born in Jim Crow. My beautiful father, former United States Air Force fighter pilot, chief mechanic, always making sure planes can fly high so we can all stay safe at night. Always saying develop your mind to its highest extent. Love my dad with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. He was also born in Jim Crow. My beautiful brother Todd with that bombastic voice, sound like thunder and lightning when Todd would speak. Always saying go forward, a voracious reader. Always talking sports and politics. He was also born in Jim Crow. I love Todd with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My beautiful daughter Daisy, the most beautiful daughter in the history of the universe. College graduate, 2 degrees with honors, and 3.5 years from a major university. She set up the very first interview for Big C Sports. Back in the days of Salem Media, it was the first time in the history of the United States of America that NFL Monday Night Football started broadcasting live on the Wall Street Business Network. It had never happened before until 2 black men of the crew started doing our thing. And then shenanigans happened, and the show went away. I'm still standing. Daisy would also help me set up in college coaches came to the West Coast to do work with Big C Sports. You can be anything you want to do. All you got to do is trust God. Isaiah 54:17, no weapon formed against you will prosper. Always, always, always trust God. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And my very handsome son, Malcolm, the most handsome son in the history of the universe. College student, senior, very smart, erudite, a good man. Always do the right thing, Malcolm. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Malcolm helped me save trees. I used to always get newspapers and look up stats on athletes and teams for the Big C Sports podcast. And one day Malcolm said, "Dad, why don't you just Google it?" And a light bulb went off. I've been Googling ever since. And then one day Malcolm said, "Dad, do you want to see Big C Sports on TV?" I said, "Sure." He said, "Pick up the remote, aim it at the TV and say play Big C Sports. You'll see a show come up." Now it's on 29 podcast platforms and streaming on 4 TV platforms. And then Malcolm said, "Dad, you want to see Big C Sports on TV?" I said, "Sure." He said, "Pick up the remote, aim it at the TV, and say play Big C Sports. You'll see your show come up." That's before it was even on the air. Now it's streaming on 4 TV platforms: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. You can be anything you want to be. And then Big C, with all that wealth and knowledge over the years, I'm a great-granddaddy coming out of that barn, always saying you got to believe, saying let's get ready to rumble. I love saying welcome to the show. It's the nominated Big C Sports Podcast. I'm the only sports show in the universe that champions reparations the way I do. But I know you're ready for the kickoff. Last night, it was a good game. The New England Patriots go to 3-10. The Steelers fall to 7-6. It was 21-18, and New England got out to it was a 21-10 halftime lead, and they went on to win that game. A low-scoring second half, 21-18. The Steelers struggled in the second half, and now there are people saying what's going on with the Steelers. Well, the Steelers and the Patriots, they are trying to rise and shine and do what they can to get their team success. At the same time, we all gotta look at the league. It's a tough business, the NFL, and whatever happens is going to happen. But I've never seen New England have such a bad year. But we'll see what happens. I want to get into Week 14. It's Big Steve's thoughts on NFL football. It's amazing. The regular season's almost over. They only play 17 regular season games. So when I look at all the things going on in the NFL, I want to just give you Big C's thoughts on what's going to happen this weekend, and everybody has their own thoughts. I have my opinion, and you have yours. I don't know what it is about this league that so many people can think about who's going to win what game, how they're going to win it. But at the same time, it's a betting league. 800 Gambler. For those of you who think that NFL football is so easy to predict, it's not easy to predict. There's so many times in this league that teams, like last night, the Steelers were favored. They were at home, but they lost. How'd that happen? 800 Gambler? Who knows? It's just amazing when you look at NFL previews. How does a team lose a game that they should have easily won, but they failed to win it? That's why I don't bet on games, because people win or lose money based on that. It's just a thought. But when I look at how some of the bookies make their money, they make their money based on things that we don't know. I mean, we just don't know how it's going to work out when it comes to NFL football. Everybody has their own thoughts about it, and how you're gonna choose one team over the other. I don't know. I do know that I love the business, and everybody has their own thoughts about what team is going to win a game. But be careful. They even tell you 800 Gambler if you're going to be out there betting on something you don't know about. That's why I don't bet, but I love the game. I got the LA Rams 6-6 at the Baltimore Ravens 9-3. 1:00 p.m. kickoff East Coast time on Fox Sports. Baltimore's favored by 7. The over-under is 40.5. And you think about Jadeveon Clowney, how he can cross the edge. The Ravens lead the NFL in sacks with 47, which is 5 more than any other team. Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford has been sacked 20 times. That's the 4th fewest among quarterbacks with at least 400 dropbacks. I'm telling you, the Ravens, they can run and pass. The Rams are getting better. The Ravens will run for a couple of touchdowns in this game, and I think they will meet or at least tie their franchise record for rushing touchdowns in the season. That's 24. They did that in 2020. Now they're at 22 touchdowns. That's a game that, again, in my own opinion, I like to see what does Las Vegas think about the game, Curry? Las Vegas thinks about the game a betting nugget. The Rams are 0-3 against the spread in their past 3 games as an underdog. My pick, I have the Ravens winning that game 28-24. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. The Detroit Lions 9-3 at the Chicago Bears 4-8. 1:00 p.m. kickoff East Coast time on Fox Sports. And the spread is the Detroit's favored by 3.5. And the over-under is 43.5. These two rivals, the monsters of the Midway, you can't really count on either team. The Bears quarterback Justin Fields is the NFL's only quarterback to have 3 games of 100 rushing yards against a single opponent. since 1950. He's done it in 3 straight against Detroit. I don't know if he'll do it in this game because Detroit's defense is playing a lot better. At the same time, Detroit, with quarterback Jared Goff, a second-round pick, would make the most of his targets. In Chicago, keeping opportunities coming his way. The Bears give up an average of 46.7 yards per game to tight ends. Look for the tight end big. But what does Las Vegas think, Curry? Well, 800 Gambler, a betting nugget. The Bears are 1-8 against the spread in their past 9 games following the bye week. I got the Lions 31, the Bears 20. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. 800 Gambler. I don't bet on games. The Jacksonville Jaguars 8-4 at Cleveland. This is for you. The Browns are 7-5, 1 o'clock p.m. kickoff. East Coast time on CBS Sports. Cleveland favored by 3. The over-under is 30. Jaguars coach Doug Peterson will face off against his former defensive coordinator and Cleveland's defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz, and they played together and they won a Super Bowl with Philadelphia back in the day. But I gotta tell you, Myles Garrett and the Jaguars, Josh Allen, will combine for 7 sacks. Garrett has 13 sacks. Allen has 13.5. This is a game about defenses. These defenses can get after you. But what does Las Vegas think, Curry? That's what people want to know. Well, a betting nugget. The Browns are 8-1 against the spread in their past 10 games, following a road loss. I got the Browns 24, the Jaguars 20. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. 800 Gambler if you have any problems. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they're 5-7 at the Atlanta Falcons, 6-6 on the season. And it's a 1 o'clock p.m. kickoff East Coast time on CBS Sports. Atlanta, they're favored by 1.5 points. 1.5? Yeah, 1.5 points. The over-under is 39.5 in that game. Be careful. The storyline, Buccaneers receiver Mike Evans, who once, again, topped 1,000 yards, has been a problem for Atlanta. You know he's going to get the ball in his hands. And for the Buccaneers quarterback touchdown, Baker Mayfield, he's looking like he's going to reach at least 260 yards passing. In this game, you got to watch the ground game for the Falcons. Running back John Robinson, he's seeking his 5th game with at least 100 yards from scrimmage. Yeah, but what does Las Vegas think, Curry? The betting nugget. The Buccaneers are 5-1 against the spread on the road despite 4 straight outright losses. My thought, I got the Falcons winning this game. I got the Falcons 24, the Buccaneers 17. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. The Carolina Panthers 1-11 at the Who Dat say they're going to beat them Saints 5-7, 1 o'clock p.m. kickoff East Coast time on Fox. And New Orleans is favored by 5. The over-under is 37.5. The storyline, Saints quarterback touchdown Derek Carr and Taysom Hill are both on the injury report this week. So how are the Saints favored by 5? It's because of who they're playing. The Saints have lost 3 straight and 5 of the past 7. And then you think about backup quarterback Jameis Winston. He's the ultimate wild card. You never know what he's going to do. Carolina is eliminated, does not have a first-round pick, so the focus goes to New Orleans. But I got to tell you, what does Las Vegas think, Curry? The betting nugget, the Saints are 0-5 against the spread at home, making them the only team yet to cover at home. I think the Saints win this game. I got them winning 24-17. I think they cover this game. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. How about the Texans 7-5 at the New York Jets 4-8 on the season? Man, when Aaron Rodgers got injured, things went south for the Jets. They've been landing softly and hitting some turbulence on the way to land. And 1 o'clock p.m. kickoff East Coast time on CBS Sports. Houston's favored by 4.5. The over-under is 32.5. The Jets quarterback Zach Wilson, drafted number 2 overall in 2021 out of BYU, faces C.J. Stroud, drafted number 2 overall in 2023 out of Ohio State. Think about this. Stroud has almost as many touchdown passes as Wilson. Think about it. Even though he started a lot fewer games, he has 20. It's 21-20, if that makes sense to you. I got a bold prediction for some good boys from Las Vegas, because that's what a lot of people care about. What does Vegas think for you betting guys? 800 Gambler. I have a betting nugget. The unders are 5-0-1 in the Jets' past 6 games. In 3 straight Texas games have gone under for the total. What does that mean, Curry? I got the Texans 28, the Jets 14. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I want to tell you about the Indianapolis Colts 7-5 at the Cincinnati Bengals, 6-6. It's a 1:00 p.m. kickoff, East Coast time on CBS Sports. Indiana's favored by one. And the over-under is 43.5. The Jake Browning Show out of Folsom High School near Sacramento, a University of Washington alum. They're playing for the National Championship playoffs. They'll take on Texas down in the Sugar Bowl. But he's going up against Gardner Minshew, who played at Washington State. This is like the Apple Cup rivalry. Browning won the AFC's Offensive Player of the Week award last week, while Minshew is 14th in QBR this season. But what does Las Vegas think, Curry? You got to understand the betting angle. 800 gambler. My thinking is I don't bet, but the Colts have covered 4 straight games. 4. But I'm going to tell you, the Bengals win this game 24-21. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. What about the Las Vegas Raiders? They are 6-6. Actually, they are 5-7. And the Vikings are 6-6 going to Las Vegas. It's a 4:05 p.m. kickoff, East Coast time on Fox Sports. Minnesota's favored by 3. In Las Vegas, the over-under is 40.5. In recent cornerback news, the Raiders have waived Marcus Peters and signed Jack Jones, designated Brandon Franson, who suffered a shin injury in training camp. You got to look at this team. I think the Raiders running back Josh Jacobs is going to rush for at least 90 yards in this game, despite a lack of productivity lately, but I think he'll get his groove back. And then I want to tell you, the Raiders receiver Devontae Adams has had 4 straight games with a touchdown reception against the Vikings, one shy of matching Greg Jennings' 5 straight in 2009 and 2011. For your prop bettors, in my opinion, Devontae Adams will score a touchdown. Yeah, but what does Las Vegas think? What do the gamblers think? The gamblers say the unders are 9-3 in the Raiders games, 8-2 in the past 10 games, and 4-1 in the past 5. I'm telling you, in my opinion, I'm going to go with the Raiders winning this at home by a field goal, 24-21. Because something's got to give. I think they start running the ball better against the Vikings. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, what about in them there hills, Curry? The Seattle Seahawks 6-6 at the San Francisco 49ers 9-3. It's a 4:05 p.m. kickoff East Coast time on Fox Sports. Now, San Francisco is 10.5-point favorite. The over-under is 46.5. They just beat in Seattle, I think on Thanksgiving Day. It was 31-13. This point spread is 10.5. Be careful, Las Vegas. This is the second meeting between these two teams in 18 days. The 49ers are riding a 4-game winning streak, closing in on the NFC West crown, and in striking distance of the number 1 seed if the Cowboys can knock off the Eagles. And we're getting closer to seeing that happen. The Seahawks, they've lost 3 in a row, and they've had a difficult stretch. Seattle should be a little healthier than the last time these two teams met. The Seahawks enjoy a rest advantage in this one. It will be a tough game for them to close that 18-point gap that they gave up in the great Northwest. I don't think the Seahawks will lose by double digits in this one. What, Curry, what are you talking about? They lost 31-13 in the last game. I got to tell you, these teams are well prepared for each other. I know the 49ers are just loaded. But Las Vegas, to me, has their fingers all over this game. The 49ers have won 10 straight divisional games, which is the longest active win streak. The next tie is 4 by the Falcons and the Eagles. Curry, what does Las Vegas think? This is the 49ers' second longest divisional win streak since 1970. They won 12 straight. And from 1997 to 98, they won 12 straight. What does Las Vegas think? 800 gambler. Be careful if you're betting on games. Christian McCaffrey will get his chest in the win. I think Brandon Ayuk will have a great game. Deebo Samuel will have a great game. That 49er defense will come sacking. But the Seahawks are 52-34-2 against the spread as underdogs under Pete Carroll. I think the 49ers win, but 10.5 is a lot. I'm going to go San Francisco 31, Seattle 21. I think they win, but I don't think they cover the spread. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. Buffalo Bills 6-6 at the Kansas City Chiefs 8-4. It's a 4:25 p.m. kickoff East Coast time on CBS Sports. Kansas City favored by 1.5 points. The over-under is 48.5. The storyline, the Bills have beaten the Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium in the regular season in each of the past 2 seasons. In large part because Buffalo quarterback Josh Allen had 6 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. And Kansas City touchdown Patrick Mahomes has 4 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. How did the Chiefs lose to Green Bay? How? For Buffalo, touchdown, Stephon Diggs needs 31 receiving yards to hit 1,000. He'll get that in this game. But you got to ask, what does Las Vegas think? Kansas City looks like they've been paying more attention to Taylor Swift than they have to the playbook. Over his past 4 games, touchdown Patrick Mahomes has thrown for 870 yards. Over that period, he's averaged 16 fantasy points. I got to tell you what Las Vegas thinks. The Bills are 6-0 outright after a bye week under Coach Sean McDermott. They're 2-2-2 against the spread. The Bills are 6-12-2 against the spread with an extra rest under McDermott. People think that it's impossible to beat Kansas City at home. And I know it may not make a lot of sense to go this way, but I think they get right in this game. Kansas City 28, Buffalo 24. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. How about the Broncos 6-6 at the Los Angeles Chargers 5-7, a 4:25 p.m. kickoff East Coast time on CBS Sports. The Chargers are a 3-point favorite. The over-under is 43.5. The Chargers are riding perhaps their best 2-game defensive stretch under Coach Brandon Staley's 3 years tenure. They held the Ravens, who scored 30 points in 5 straight games before their matchup, to 20 points. They had a 6-0 win over the Patriots, their first shutout of the Staley era. But what does Las Vegas think, Curry? They're not scoring a lot of points either. But something tells me in this game, it's a divisional game. The Broncos are 6-13-1 against the spread in their past 20 road games. I'm going to go with Denver 27, the Chargers 24. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Now, the final game that I'm going to get to that I like, the Philadelphia Eagles 10-2 at the Dallas Cowboys 9-3, 8:20 p.m. kickoff East Coast time on NBC Sports. Dallas is a 3.5-point favorite. They won 14 in a row at home. The over-under is 51.5. First place in the NFC East is on the line when these teams meet, at least for now. The Cowboys would move into the top line with a win. If both teams win the remaining games, the Eagles would claim the division title based on conference record. If Philadelphia win means the division would be all but clinched. But touchdown Dak Prescott has won 4 straight against the Eagles at AT&T Stadium. Okay, but what about Jalen Hurts? Jalen Hurts, the Eagles quarterback, has thrown 19 touchdown passes and 12 rushing touchdowns. Can become the second player all time to have multiple seasons of 20, if that makes sense to you. But what does Las Vegas think, Curry? The betting nuggets, the Cowboys are 8-2 against the spread. As favorites this season, they are 25-10 against the spread as favorite in the past 3 seasons. My pick, the Cowboys win. It's going to be a close game. Cowboys 35, Eagles 30. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Titans 4-8 at the Dolphins 9-3, 8:15 p.m. East Coast time on ESPN. And the Miami's favored by 13. The over-under is 46.5. I think Miami wins that game. I won't get into too much why, because some news is coming in that I want to make sure I talk about, but I want to know my stuff before I even get into it. I'm going to tell you what Las Vegas thinks, because that's the story that I want to go with. The Titans are 0-5 outright against the spread in their past 5 road games, 1-5 against the spread on the road this season, and 0-6 outright. What does that mean? Dolphins 35, Titans 20. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, I'll get into Monday night. On Monday night, the Green Bay Packers 6-6 at the New York Giants 4-8. But that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Give that some praise. Those are Big C's picks. As I always tell you on every Big C Sports show, if you're going to drink, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink. Because mothers against drunk drivers are mad, and fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easiest things not to do. You can call Uber, you can call Lyft, you can walk it off, you can sleep it off, but don't let someone you love get behind the wheel of a car if they've been drinking. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, you know what time it is. As I always tell you on every Big C Sports show, I thank you. I appreciate you. I hope that you have a super fantastic day. But back by popular demand, Back in the day, there's a man known by the name of Drew Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly, and you sting like a bee. Rumble, young man, rumble. He said, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Ali said, I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat because, listen to the big sports makes me want to say, reparations now, reparations forever. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. As my beautiful mother always says, there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. No man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. If you know anybody going through that garbage, pick up the phone and call 911 because things change when the police show up. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. As you know by now, I love honoring President Abraham Lincoln, and I want to get your help as we stand up for the kickoff. What did Abraham Lincoln ask Congress and the President Joe Biden to do? He says, sign reparations now, sign reparations forever. You got to get that some praise, but say it like your team just won the game. What did President Abraham Lincoln ask Congress and President Joe Biden to do? He says, sign reparations now, sign reparations forever. Come on, say it like your team just won the championship. What did President Abraham Lincoln tell Congress and the NFL and the NBA and President Joe Biden to do? He says, sign reparations now, sign reparations forever. And that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I thank you. I appreciate you. And I hope that you have a super fantastic day.